Why did Egypt Covington become the victim of a brutal murder? And how did this case remain unsolved for so long? Find out in today's story of Egypt Covington.
He said Egypt's been murdered.
It was just unfathomable. How do you lose somebody like that in this way? I said, "Who is this beautiful person on your phone?" And he said, "That's my sister. She was murdered and it's unsolved."
One day, a woman named Egypt Covington was chilling in her duplex, watching TV. Suddenly, boom, two men burst in, grabbed her, and she screamed. One of them had a gun, and they tied her up with Christmas lights. The man with the gun pointed it at the back of her head and pulled the trigger. They then took her phone, and another man was waiting outside in a getaway car. They all sped away, leaving behind a horrifying scene. So Egypt Covington was very well known around town.
But I promise you we'll bring the world to its feet and move.
She was a talented singer and R&B artist. Anyone who knew her loved her, so it shocked everyone when they heard that someone had taken her life. No one could understand who would do such a thing because she basically had no enemies. The police started investigating and digging around for clues. They eventually landed on a person of interest, Egypt's ex-boyfriend, Kenny. They started looking into him, but as months went by, the police still hadn't made an arrest. They simply didn't have enough hard evidence against Kenny. Unfortunately, after a period of no activity, the case ended up going cold. But the story doesn't end there. Egypt had a brother named Dwayne who was devastated by his sister's passing. One day, Dwayne met a woman named Lindsay, and they really hit it off and started dating. Lindsay and Dwayne were all into each other. At some point, Lindsay noticed Dwayne had a lock screen on his phone, and on that lock screen was a picture of another woman. She saw this and asked, "Who is that woman on your phone?" Dwayne replied, "Oh, that's my sister Egypt," and he told her about the murder and that the case was still unsolved. He explained that the police had been investigating for years at this point and that they suspected it might be her ex, Kenny, but they didn't have any evidence against him. It had been really hard on Dwayne's family. Lindsay really liked Dwayne and thought he was an amazing guy, so she said, "All right, I want to help solve this case." She immediately got to work. She created a Facebook group to collect tips and information about Egypt's death. People started sending in information, and Lindsay pieced it all together. She interviewed people, took Dwayne along, and they drove around town, talking to anyone who knew anything about Egypt. She asked them difficult questions and started connecting the dots. Lindsay's relentless efforts revealed that all the evidence pointing to Kenny was circumstantial and flimsy at best. Maybe the police were pointing fingers at the wrong guy. Lindsay and Dwayne handed over all the evidence they had collected to the local police, but the local police didn't appear to be doing anything with it, at least not in a timely manner. So, Lindsay and Dwayne decided that they wanted the state police to take over the case because the state police had a lot more resources. They filed a plea for the state police to take over, and then they waited and waited. They even held a protest march to pressure the police to hand the case over to the state, and thousands of people attended this protest. Finally, one day, boom, it worked. The local police ended up handing the case over to the state. The state police reviewed the case. When Egypt was killed, the attackers took her cell phone before they later discarded it. The state police had enough resources to get a warrant to track her cell phone and any other phones that were near it, which they did. The other phones near it, of course, belonged to the attackers. 3 months later, kabam! The state police arrested 3 guys involved in the crime. Here's the first guy's mugshot, here's the second guy's mugshot, and here's the third guy's mugshot. Here's what the 3 guys said really happened that day. Egypt lived in a duplex, and on the other side of that duplex was a legal marijuana business that the owners ran from their home. The 3 attackers claimed that they were trying to break into that side of the duplex to steal some marijuana. 2 of them went in, and one of them was the getaway driver. Unfortunately, the 2 went into the wrong door and into Egypt's side. That is where they encountered Egypt, just chilling and watching TV. They weren't expecting anyone to be home, so they freaked out, tied her up with Christmas lights, and killed her. All 3 men took plea deals. They each got different sentences, but one got a minimum of 17 years, another got a minimum of 20 years, and the last one got a minimum of 15 years. Meanwhile, Lindsay and Dwayne kept dating, got engaged, and are now married. This is a tale of love, determination, and justice. Shout out to Michigan for seeing this case through to the end.